let's reject this notion of a good bank, bad bank. That is trying to, again, create something out of nothing by saying that a bad bank is now a legitimate financial entity in which we can manage this crisis. In any other context, you would simply call this quote-unquote bad bank for what it truly is, which is called a slush fund. What is a slush fund? It's an unregulated fund that is where people who are engaging in fraud launder money, basically, is what a slush fund is. It's unreported. I grew up in America in the 60s, and I think the first time that I became aware of this term slush fund was in discussion of Richard Nixon and the Watergate affair. He would be paying out his operatives to commit crimes out of his slush fund. B.B. Rebozo, at the time, was funding the slush fund. B.B. Rebozo was an interesting character. He made his fortune by inventing the aerosol nozzle.
Oh, my God. I've never heard of B.B. Rebozo.
B.B. Rebozo invented the aerosol nozzle and became incredibly wealthy. And as a lot of incredibly wealthy do, he became an arch conservative and funded the fascist nincompoop Richard Milhous Nixon. And he used those finances in the slush fund to do things off the books. Now you've got the banking system in Britain saying, you know what, we can't call it a slush fund because that's clearly illegal. So we'll call it a quote-unquote bad bank. And people in the Britain and in the press simply swallow that tripe as if it's acceptable. Which is, how? How are they so... What happened? What happened over there? Is it alcohol poisoning? Is it a mass alcohol poisoning that's made it possible for the government to sell a slush fund as a quote-unquote bad bank? And of course, to add insult to injury, what they're pointing to now is the good bank is Northern Rock. Northern Rock is the good bank. Okay? Now, do you get where I'm going with this, people? You're being set up to take a huge fall beyond what you've already experienced. The unemployment rate's going to skyrocket. Jim Rogerson is absolutely right. If you're young and you've got a pulse and you're not stuck to an iron lung or something that keeps you in Britain, you need to get out of there. It's a sinking ship.
What if they're stuck to a bong?
You got to put down the bong pipe now and leave that country. Go to somewhere where they've got at least some accountability. First of all the French people that went to Britain, I would imagine they're all going to come back to France because now the period of trying to go over and live with le roast beef and make a few quick bucks, churning people's money in the hedge fund business down there in the hugest money laundering operation in the world, the concierge to criminals par excellence, the city of London. That period is over.
Well, I don't know if you saw this news, Max, but there was a giant bailout last night. France introduced their own bailout, 600 million euro, and it went to the media. It was a bailout of the media, not the bankers. 600 million euros. It's pretty complicated. It sounds like they're going to deliver, with this 600 million euros, free newspapers to 18-year-olds.
Now, contrast that with Britain, who would open the pubs 24 hours and subsidize young people getting hammered on booze. In France, they're subsidizing newspapers to try to increase the collective IQ of the population. In Britain, of course, IQ would mean savings. Savings would mean less speculation. Less speculation would mean less money for bankers, and less money for bankers would mean you might have a representational government doing things by and for the interest of the community, and God forbid that would happen.
Well, I think, however, that the 600 million euros would be better spent hiring young technicians, web applicators, web developers, to develop better, cooler websites for the French media, whether it's Le Monde or Charlie Hebdo or any of the French newspapers.
Yeah.
So, because most 18-year-olds, you're not going to convince them to read paper. They find all their information online.
Yep.
So the money would be better spent instead of subsidizing these, 70-year-old, 50, 60, 70-year-old friends of Sarkozy. It would be actually developing the new, younger generation. And they have a very big base of great web developers here and code writers.
Yeah, that's true. Then down in the south of France, too, there's kind of a mini Silicon Valley, and it was kind of active for a while. I think it's with the rest of the global economy kind of contracted. But you're absolutely right. It makes more sense to go digital. So if they're going to take 600 million euros, it makes more sense maybe to give everybody high-speed internet access and maybe buy a few $1 million of those $200 computers that are being spread into Africa and the other countries to try to create the global connectivity that would be necessary to undo the damage of the neoliberal model, which has now come crashing down around us.